Oh, glory to God. What do you have to be thankful for today? You know, a lot of things are happening, a lot of things with a lot of people, a lot of things in our world. And I'm not going to tell you they're all good. No, we don't live, it doesn't say we live in a present good world, we live in a present evil world. But we, as God's children, if we are going to manifest the kingdom, then the reality of who we are, the life we've been given, and what's available to us, we must learn to access it and know that everything God has declared is ours, that God is working for good. I don't care what happens. When we look, God plans the end before the beginning. It's the end result that counts. It's not what counts today, though. What may happen today may not always, it may hurt because not because God's causing it, but we live in this world. But anyway, I don't know. Got some things in my mind because a wonderful believer lost her husband. He wasn't that old. Uh, just over the week, the weekend, and it's a sad thing, but we have this hope, and there is a sting to death, but we have this hope. So we're doing something different today. Let me get this set up here. Where I want it. Yep. Okay, we're doing something different, and a subject that I enjoy, I've always enjoyed, is the heavens declare the glory of God. I'm going to change this up just a little bit here if I get the right button. There it is. All right. I see that was a setting I had set the way I had. But anyways, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the expanse, right, shows his handiwork. But I wanted to do something related to astronomy. So, because like I said, I've enjoyed it. Hi, Joe. Good morning. So we're going to look at the 10 brightest nebula in the sky. The 10 brightest nebula in the sky. I think two of these are in the southern hemisphere. So I'm going to get things adjusted, and we're going to look at these. A nebula are basically massive clouds of dust and gas that can be categorized into several different types. They're called emission nebula, planetary nebula, reflection nebula, dark nebula, and supernova remnant, which I was out last night and I was looking at for a supernova remnant, which is the Crab Nebula, which is rising in the east now near uh, Augula, Augila. I don't know always how to say these words, they're Latin, whatever. But if you look in your east at night, well, if you look a little toward the north, you'll see Jupiter, but you look in the east and there's Mars rising in the evening, and it's right near this constellation, Augila. I think it's Augula. And then down below it is not far is this Crab Nebula. But in the city lights I have, it's on the edge of visibility because there's just too much light pollution where I should be easily able to see it. So anyways, that's your basic nebula. So emission nebula, it gives off light of itself. Planetary nebula, yeah, that's another type of nebula. Reflection nebula, light hitting it is reflecting off of it. Dark nebula, it takes some really big telescopes to see those because, they're dark, be like clouds at night. And then supernova remnant, like I said, the Crab Nebula. So due to their size, varying colors, and compositions, there are varying degrees of difficulty to photograph them. So some of these were more difficult than others. I didn't photograph them. They are coming from astrobackyard.com. And I said we're going to look at 10 of them. And the Orion Nebula is a big one. Also in the east, when you look rising, you'll see Orion. If you look at a star map or online, you'll see a picture of it in the sword of Orion. The bottom one is a nebula, but there's actually a number of nebula in the Orion constellation. So let's get started. So I've got to turn off my lights here. I've got to get some things set up. Let's see. Yeah, that's what I want. I got to turn off the lights, or you'll see. I'll show you why I got to turn off the lights. You'll be like, oh yeah. So you see, you got all that background around me, and we don't want that. So here goes the lights. All right. So this first one is the Carina Nebula. It's a magnitude 1. It is a bright nebula. Now, we talk distance. It's 300 light years from across, and it's a beautiful, bright, dark nebulosity. When you see these through a telescope, you're just going to see white because remember your eyes have rods and cones, and what is it? The cones see black and white, and the rods see color. It takes a lot of light for the color to come through, and in the dark, you know that if you're walking through a pretty dark room or place, and you can't see color, your eyes don't pick it up, but the part of your eye that picks up the black and white is much more sensitive than the color, uh, the color part, right? So this Carina Nebula, the distance is 8,000 light years. And when we're talking space, that's nothing. But when we're talking for our mind to conceive, it's just mind blowing. Uh, the speed of light is what, 186,000 miles per hour, something like that. So let's say it's about, rounded up, 200,000 miles per hour. If not, yeah, 200,000. So the distance light travels, uh, yeah, in what is it, a year? Okay, a light year. So 8,000 light years, it's far away. So this nebula is, it's a southern hemisphere target. So, and it is 4 times larger. If you've ever looked at the Orion Nebula, 4 times larger than Orion Nebula, popular northern hemisphere object. And again, it rises now in our evening. It's sunset. It's coming up. Give it 2 hours or so, and it's good. It's well up in the sky. You can make it out in a pair. Well, you can see it with your naked eye. You can see the glow. Binoculars give you a decent pair of binoculars, like 7 by 50, or maybe even larger. You'll see the glow to it and all. Again, it's going to be mostly pretty much white. I should just say it'll be white because it's not bright enough for us to see the colors. But anyways, this is the Carina Nebula. Now, I've got 10 here, so let's go on to the next one. Okay, this is the North American Nebula. Now, that top part, is it kind of like North America? I don't know. If it is, it's reversed, inversed, reversed. This is an emission nebula, so it can glow, has glowing in itself. The particles are excited, I guess, they're active. It's located in this constellation Cygnis Cygnus. And I know you astronomy real knowers, if I get them wrong, well, I'm doing the best I can. And it's near the bright star Deneb. Again, these are the brightest ones. So if you were to look at Deneb, and then it's near it. It is 4 times the area to our eyes of the full moon. The full moon looks pretty big. Well, tiny but big. But this is 4 times the size of the full moon, and it definitely takes wide field cameras, if you can zoom in, to get this. And the emission is because of hydrogen gas, which gives it its red color. Different things give off different colors. When things burn, I think it's copper. You burn copper, it turns green. You burn, is it sodium? I'm trying to think. It turns blue. Different things give off different colors. All right. So the first one, I didn't say so. Apparent magnitude, the Carina one, is a magnitude, it appears to the eye 1.0. That's pretty good. Even in my city lights here, I can see down to about the 6th magnitude of rating of a star in the sky, how bright it is. That's about as far as I can go. Maybe with the telescope or binoculars, a little bit further, maybe 6.5 or something. But in dark skies, if you're out where there just is no city lights, you get a couple hours away. There's only a few places in the country that are very dark like this. And you could see down to the 8th magnitude, maybe even a little better. All right, so this is the North American Nebula. Like I said, it's 4 times the size of the full moon in apparent width. and it's an apparent magnitude of 4. So yeah, and the best time to see this one is June through September. The Karina Nebula, which I said first, is the best time to catch it is May through August, but there's you can catch it them a little further than that out by the months. The third one we want to consider out of 10 is this Orion Nebula, which I mentioned. So, morning, Sue, welcome, and thanks for stopping by, each of you. This is the Orion Nebula, and again, you can see it with the naked eye. It's up in the evening to your east, maybe slightly southeast, kind of, yeah, southeast, east. And it is, you'll just see a white glow. You get the binoculars out, even your telescope, you're just going to see white because, again, our eyes do not see colors until they're bright enough. So it takes a camera and their longer exposures to give you this color that you would see. Now, I've never looked through a 20 or 100-inch telescope or anything like that. So maybe we would see color in those ones. I need to ask somebody who's actually looked through let's say, a giant telescope. So the Orion Nebula is 1,500 light years away, and they call this a star-forming region. And they say it's one of the closest star-forming regions to the Earth, and obviously one of the brightest nebula in the sky. The brightest one we considered, the first one, was number 1 magnitude. I gotta take a drink here. That's better. It has an apparent magnitude of 4.0. So even if you're in the middle of the city, I don't know, a small city, yeah, big cities. If I was in the middle of Omaha, I don't know, it probably would just barely be there. Again, because I think of, like, people talk about noise pollution, right? So they put limits on it. And the highways here, they have these to protect the homes. They have these, like, walls, these barriers to help reduce the sound quite a bit. But I think of light pollution. Light pollution causes it where we can't see, the stars like it's possible to see them if we get into a dark area. And the best time to see this one is December through February. So we're into that time now. It's rising in the east, so it's up and going. It's just a beautiful one to look at. And in Orion, there are a number of nebulas, but some of them take pretty big telescopes to see. This is probably the most famous nebula. If you've ever looked at astronomy or something, this is a target. If you're out in early winter time here, it's seen. If you're going to see it early in the year, you're going to have to stay up late at night, like past midnight or something. So let's get to number 4. The fourth nebula I want to show you, in the heavens declaring the glory of God. Guess what the name of this nebula is. You'll never guess it unless you're pretty familiar with nebula. And it is the Running Chicken Nebula. The Running Chicken Nebula. And it spans across the sky about 100 light years. 100 light years? That's incredible. You think, seen a big clouds crossing the sky? That's nothing. Now, it's a southern hemisphere target, so you don't see this in the north. You'd have to get down to the equator or so to see this nebula. So those of you go on your missions, this would be a great one to look for on your mission. It is in Centaurus, the constellation Centaurus, and it is a magnitude of 4.5. All right, let's go to number 5 here. 5 of the 10. Okay, here we are. This is Barnard's Loop. I don't know why it's called Barnard's Loop. I don't know why any of them are called that. Well, Orion Nebula, it's in Orion, right? Some of the others you see, their name has to do with their shape. But this is another, they call these deep sky objects. And this is, they say it's ionized hydrogen, along with some planetary nebula and supernova remnants make this up. Now, this one is located in the constellation Orion also, and it's part of the, or included in those nebulas is the Horsehead Nebula. But this is getting a little bit dimmer. This is a magnitude 5.0. So tonight, I'm going to put this on my list tonight. That means I'm going to have to stay up because of the way I got trees and stuff. I have to stay up later so that these constellations get above the trees that are in the south or southeast. But this would be another good one to catch. It might take a hydrogen filter. A hydrogen filter will block wavelengths, except wavelengths of hydrogen, to make it easier to see. Anyway, the best time to see this, because it's in Orion, is like the Orion Nebula from December to February. You can see it later. You know, you can get in a month or two or whatever later if you get right as soon as it gets dark out. If you want to see it here earlier, you know, like October, November, maybe even September, you're going to have to stay up or get up late in the night. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Okay, this one is called the Lagoon Nebula. The Lagoon Nebula is in the constellation Sagittarius, and they consider this an emission nebula, which we talked a little bit about at the beginning, but I didn't go into a lot of detail. This is in the star-forming region of the constellation, as I said, Sagittarius. It is 3 times the size of the full moon and the largest nebula in Sagittarius, and its magnitude is about 6.0. So this is getting darker. If you're in the city lights, you may not see this. If you're in rural, you can pick this out. This is again one you should be able to see this glow with your naked eye if you were to be out. The distance from us is 5,000 light years. Now, the best time to see this one, Sagittarius, is more of a summer constellation, so it would be like June through August. And again, you can go earlier or later. You just have to adjust your time. You know, it may be a month or two earlier, and definitely later. But here where the city is, Omaha to my west, it's too far west, the light's too bright, and I'm just, I'm not going to see much there. Okay, let's go to number 7. Number 7 here. What do you think this one's called? Who wants to give this one a guess? Yeah, this is the California Nebula. Well, okay. This is named after what? Because of its characteristic shape. It's located near the Pleiades in the constellation Perseus. And it's rising, and that's near Taurus, the bull, too. Taurus. Yeah, but I can't remember what is the astronomical or the biblical meaning. I don't have it in my mind right now. But, people get going to Latin and then transliterated to ours. So Taurus, it's located near the Pleiades. And I was looking at the Pleiades last night. I was looking at a couple of star clusters. I looked at the Orion Nebula, and I told you I was looking for the Crab Nebula, which is not on my list because it's about a magnitude 8 or so. And in the city lights here, it's just too faint to see. I need to get out way, and at least an hour or two away from the city lights. But you actually, even with the light around in the cities, I have to go about 4 to 5 hours to get truly dark skies, where when your eyes get adjusted to the dark, it looks like the moon's out, and it won't even be out, but the stars seem so bright that you see just like a glow like you would from the moon. I don't know how to describe it except to put it like that. So this is an emission nebula, and its distance is 1,000 light years long. And yeah, so it is a little difficult to see visually at 6.0, and because when things are spread out, the light doesn't seem as bright as if it's concentrated. It's kind of like this. If we took a laser or a light and a laser, if you took 100-watt bulb and put it in a light, that'd be bright. But if it was in a laser, all that 100 watts of light was concentrated in a single beam. That's enough to cut through. Uh, yeah, you haven't looked lately, but a 100-watt laser and a light like that can cut through things. Wouldn't cut through metal, but there'd be things that could just cut right through because of the intensity. You think of um, it only takes like a 10 or 20 milliwatt laser. Now, milliwatts is not bright at all, and but in a a focused beam, 10 or 20 milliwatt laser will make a burst a balloon if you shine it at a balloon and do different things with it. I don't know. I should know how many watts it takes to start. Like if you were to start a fire with a laser, how many watts that would take. I don't know. That might be an interesting number. Anyway, so the California Nebula, and there it is. Okay, and it's a large gas cloud with a total mass of 200 suns, a large gas cloud. And it's another wide field object. I don't have how wide it is here, but it's wide. Okay, the next one, number 8. Okay, we're looking at the Flaming Star Nebula. It is an emission and reflection nebula. So some of that star you see up kind of like toward the top, going up toward the top left, so if they're the bright stars, the light is hitting it and reflecting back from that star. But being an emission nebula, it has some glowing of its own, and it's in the constellation Auriga. Auriga. That's the one I was saying earlier that I was misspelling wrong. Yeah. Anyway, so that's one in our east that you can see now, November through February, the best times to see it. It's a magnitude 6. So in city lights, you may not see this. Again, it's hydrogen gas that gives the red glow. And the dust, it says the dust area closer to the star appears blue from the reflection of nebula. So as you get toward that bright star there, it does seem to have a little bluish. And it's because it's the type of star it is. It's a dwarf star. Dwarf stars, ones that have, they're burning out, right? Okay, 6 magnitude, 1,500 light years across. And it rises now. Again, this one then would not be far from Mars if you locate Mars, but it's not really so bright you're going to get it. And again, these are the 10 brightest nebula. So in dark skies, yes, you could pick it up. Okay. And again, at least 7 by 50 binoculars probably would be, really helpful in making these out better. Some you're going to see without the binoculars, but again, they're just going to be a glowing patch. If you've ever looked at, what is on my list, M31 is one of the brightest galaxies. It's up in the Andromeda constellation, and that's a great target in the summer to get your binoculars out and look at. Even though in dark skies you can see it with your eyes as a faint glow. Okay, number 9. All right, number 9 is, guess this one. What are you going to guess? Well, this one is the Eagle Nebula. So we're number 9 of 10 here. So it's the Eagle Nebula, 7,000 light years distance. And if they can say this is another active star-forming region, yeah, whatever that means. Anyway, and it spans 70 light years by 5 light years in size, narrowest to widest angle. And it is, anyway. Okay, let's see. If you ever looked at the Hubble telescope pictures, they had pictures, they were called Pillars of Creation. They were made famous by the Hubble telescope, and these are areas that they say are active star-forming regions. Okay, magnitude 6, like I said, pretty dim. Still one of the 10 brightest, and the best time is in the summer to catch this. and it's in the constellation Serpens, and yeah, June through September. And that constellation has to do with the enemy. You know, Orion has to do with the victorious one, Jesus Christ. Mhm. Okay, and let's go to number 10, and we'll round out the 10 brightest nebula. Again, I got these from astrobackyard.com. So it's not ones I have taken. Now, this is the Omega Nebula, and it is also known as the Swan Nebula. And it's considered to be another star-forming region. It's similar in geometry, size and all, over to us as the Orion one. But we're looking at it edge on rather than face on. The Orion Nebula, we're looking more face on. This one, we're looking at its edge. So if we were at an angle, it would appear much bigger, if we weren't on Earth. It spans 15 light years in diameter and is red in color. Why? You all know, right, already. Hydrogen gas being lit up by newly formed stars. Its distance is 5,500 light years, and it is a magnitude of 6. Yeah, okay, those are 10. I have a couple more that I could have put on here that I did not load up. And that would have been really good of me if I had done that. So you know what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to figure this out and do that some other time, because it takes a little bit of effort to set these up. But I thought I had 10, and I've got a couple more. But again, I didn't load them up. So boom, there's the lights. And there was a short tour of 10. There's a few more of the brightest nebulas in our sky. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the expanse shows his handiwork. And I tell you, his handiwork is amazing. You think you've seen a great painting, and like Len. Len is part of our group often, and he does some amazing paintings. And but I look at the heavens, and it's just mind blowing. And you know what? God doesn't even charge to see them. They're there to enjoy as part of the glory of God. So the heavens declare the glory of God. All right. Well, have a great day. Later this week, we've got to get into our financial breakthrough, the next lie that defeats us, whether that's Wednesday or Friday. And today, how about we just go our way rejoicing, thankful, looking to the good. And if you're going through tough times, you're having troubled times, or there's been hardship, I know there's been loss, like I mentioned earlier, know that we're praying for you. We're thankful for your lives, thankful that we're connected, and God strengthen you, God give you rest in your soul, and God empower you to greater victories, because the enemy does not win in the end. Death is not the final say, because all the dead in Christ will rise when he returns. Amen to that. All right. You are loved, and you are a blessing, and your life is vital to the work of God.